Hello, this is Mr. Hodgson, and welcome to the Ousel podcast.
The second half of the term has come and gone. Max, in 3 words, how can you describe it?
Full jam-packed.
Short, fun, hockey.
Let's get into the podcast. Hello and welcome back to the Ousel podcast, the Easter term special. Welcome to Charlie Blytheman, Max Pearson, for being on the podcast, our presenters, and me, Will Roberts. I hope that this one will be as good as the others have been. They've let us do another one. In this podcast, you'll be listening to segments from the Triple Entente, Adam Ranks, and an interview with Fraser Dingle and George Fairbank, two OBs. And at the moment, you're listening to George Gebhardt's jingle, and throughout the podcast, Wilfred Barker's will also be popping up in the show. If you want to enter some composed music, then please email them as an MP3 to the official Ousel podcast email.
Oh, can I say the email, please? ouselpodcast@gmail.com.
ouselpodcast@gmail.com. Right, let's get right into the podcast with what's been happening in and around the Bedford School Sports Department. We have had many hockey, rowing and football and rugby sevens successes, with our first team hockey having a 100% win rate at the end of this season. The second time in a row for upper six boys, and as we are recording, Charlie, I think you've got some news about the first team hockey.
Yes, well, as of this morning, they travelled down to Manchester, and where they played Manchester Grammar in the English Schools National Cup in the quarterfinals, and they won on flicks after Charlie Axford scored in the last 10 seconds to make it 4-4, and then they won on flicks.
Both of your brothers, Isaac and Tom, were a main part of this team. From what you have seen, Max, what were the key elements that team have to making it so successful?
Well, it's literally basically just the chemistry, in my opinion, because they've been playing with each other since year 6, and it's just that bond that makes them so good.
The under-15Cs have also had an unbeaten season, with our under-14s having a strong block of games led by the likes of Jerome Watson and Tim Manchin, both well-respected players back in their day. And it seems like the past, present and the future are all doing their bit for the hockey club here at Bedford School. The Rows have also had the National School Sculling Head, where boys from every year group of the upper school made a trip to Dorney Lake. This prestigious rowing event was an excellent platform for all rowers and a range of abilities to race against schools from all over the nation. Now I'm just going to run through some other successes from other sports this term. The under-18 sevens team got to the Seaford College Plate semi-final and managed to take home the Oakham Sevens Cup earlier this month. In cross-country, Tom Dearden, Ed Blytheman and Adam Fote all took part in the English Schools Cross-Country Championship in Leeds. And finally, football now. The under-14As have played one game and won that 2-1. The under-18Cs have played 5, won 3, lost 1 and drawn 1. And the under-15A have also had a good run of games, winning 4 out of their 6. Some team highlights now. Well done to the under-15As and the under-15-18 team for scoring the most amount of goals throughout the year, with an impressive 18 in total. Max, would you like to introduce us into our first segment of the podcast?
Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, the main event of the Ousel podcast. Let's crack on into our first segment of the episode. The one, the only, the Triple Entente. And we have an interview from the Triple Entente with our two favourite Australians, sorry Mr. Palmer, Ben and Nick Sheriff. Enjoy.
Indeed on 1, 3, 2, 1,
Indeed!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. You join us today at Bedford School with our Australian brothers, Nicky Sheriff.
Wait. I should do the Australian accent since I won the last one.
Oh, shut up, Neddy. Right,
Shut
back to
up.
the podcast. Apologies about that one. That's our Turkish friend over there. So, may I say again, we are joined today by our good friend Nicky Sheriff and his big brother.
And brother Benny.
Brother, yeah, Benny Sheriff. We're going to hold the Australian accent for this whole thing. So, Mix.
Benny, what were your highlights of house drama?
Well, highlights of House Drama.
Love the accent.
Well, I did like some of Ash Burnham's jokes. The 2 birds with 1 stone, or the 2 fires make a 10 one, was a very good one.
Oh, your joke. You're going to say your...
Yeah, my joke. I did like that.
Stop it, Benny, mate.
What about Dancing with
Carry
Me?
on.
Who's that?
Jeez, that was bearable. But I probably wouldn't put it up in the top 5 things I've ever had to do.
And you were dancing with the Year 9.
Oh,
so-
that's Nicky's voice. That was Nicky.
Nick.
We heard Nick. We didn't think he was going to say much.
Nice.
Right, Nicky. So, any highlights from being in the audience?
Yes, I thought Chris Kitson's part in their house drama was very interesting.
Culture battle. Oh God. Oh no. Culture battle.
No, we don't.
Culture battle.
Take 500.
Okay, no. Okay. So here is we're going to have a little debate between England and Australia. Can you please justify why you think Australia is better than England?
Everything's a lot more spread out. But the big one for me is Aussie rules football, the best sport in the world.
Once again, B-Tech rugby. Sorry to say.
Don't know about that. I think it's slightly a bit better.
There is a reason why only Australia play Aussie rules, and that is because it is a terrible sport. Prove me wrong, Nick Sheriff.
I would say that the only reason Australia...
Yeah, we asked Nick, Benny. Nick, elaborate.
No.
Because anyway, tough enough.
Okay, yeah. That's a great point Ben's just brought up here. The only reason
Benny.
Australians
Nick, back yourself. Come on,
play
remember Miss Smith.
the game of AFL is because they're the only ones tough enough to really handle the pressure and the intensity of the sport. Would you like to?
I would.
Okay, this is
Not
culture.
liking that.
This is culture. Gentlemen, quiet, please. I vow to thee, my country. Stop, cut. Lads, what are the top 3 things to do in Australia?
If you really want to experience Australia's culture, which
God.
it's not very big over there, but if you do want to
Put
experience,
yourself upside down.
get yourself to an AFL game. It is amazing, great atmosphere.
Probably a road trip down the Great Ocean Road.
Oh,
Wouldn't go
God.
amiss.
Yeah, no.
Beautiful country. Lots of surfing.
Have you ever been to Luton? None is impeccable.
Have you ever seen Point Break? Probably.
No.
Oh, I
haven't.
have.
Oh, you have?
Well, it's an
Yeah,
Australian
Australian
film.
Yeah.
Sort of, but the
No,
final
no
scene,
chance.
of Point Break, where he goes into the wave, and he dies or he's never seen again, is filmed at Bells Beach in Australia.
that was really cool.
Massive.
Whoa.
And there's a little fact for you about Australia.
What do you miss from the land of Down Under?
Well, I mean, I feel like a broken record, but Aussie rules is just amazing. A lot of the food I do miss.
Okay, well, leading on to the next point, what are the top 3 foods in Australia?
If you're really going for it, a classic meat pie with some tomato sauce. That is
Oh God.
that is
4
beautiful.
4 and 20.
Yeah, 4 and 20. Yeah.
420.
So 4 and 20 is
It's a brand.
It's
It's a
a
brand.
brand of pie that you get
I
at
see.
sporting events or things like
Like a
that.
pucker pie.
No.
A
No,
pucker
no, no.
pie.
There's this thing called a Chico roll,
Oh
which
yeah.
is a little bit of deliciousness, fried fat deliciousness. It was actually invented in where we come from,
Bendigo. Yeah.
So it's very, very good stuff. Third one's probably dim sum, isn't it?
Yep, definitely.
Dim sum,
thick
which
it.
is like a dim sum,
But-
except a lot better.
It's that ties close with with some Tim Tams.
Finally, which country is better, Australia or England?
Okay.
Australia.
I don't
Can't
wanna-
hear you.
I do.
Australia.
Right. Well.
I mean,
Nick?
there's definitely pros and cons to each country, but
Oh, God.
if we're going overall, it would definitely be Australia. So
Finally, it's been a pleasure to have the Snariff brothers.
been a pleasure to have
No,
the
not
Snariff brothers.
He is the Snariff.
He is the snow.
No, because that's the Benif.
Good night from the Ousel Podcast.
Hello, this is Dr. Koch, and you're listening to the Ousel Podcast.
Some great stuff there. Talking of house drama, let's have a look at what's been happening in the Quarry Theatre this term. We've had Oliver Twist, a joint school production. One audience member went out saying, and I quote, "Oliver Twist was an amazing production. The set, music and the lighting set the scene and the acting brought the injustices of Victorian England to life. A standout performance, one of Bedford School's best." Max and I were lucky to be a part of this. Max on stage and me off doing the technical side. But Max, from an acting side, how impressed were you by all of the boys to put off such an impressive show?
I was just so impressed by the younger people just having so many lines to learn at such a young age. It was just incredible, and the community of the 3 schools involved was just also wonderful.
obviously you had Ollie Barber, year 4, only 9 years old, playing the main part, Oliver. I mean, so much pressure on him, and he seemed to pull it off incredibly.
Yeah, he fitted the role like a glove.
We also had stand-up performances from the likes of George Wegner.
He was incredible.
House drama, as mentioned previously, was something that we all took part in. A mixture of pieces, some prepared beautifully, Crescent and Ashburnham. Others, such as Paul Rose, written the day before the actual performance. Charlie, how did you find this year's house drama?
Well, I absolutely loved it, playing the part of Emmanuel Macron. I thought we were a bit hard done by it to not win, but I thought Ashburnham were very good.
Max, how did you find house drama?
Well, what more can you want? A 14-year-old boy in a Cinderella dress wearing Jordans. I mean, what more can you want? It was an incredible experience for me.
We also have the Lambda Speech and Drama Showcase, which is going on tomorrow night, as this has been recorded on the last Tuesday of term. Good luck to all involved in that. Charlie, would you like to introduce our next segment?
Next up, we have an interview with 2 recent OBs, Fraser Dingwall and George Furbank. We caught up with them to find out what they had been doing after they had left behind the school life and taken on the life of a professional rugby player.
Well, welcome back to the Ousel podcast, and we are joined by 2 very special guests, George Furbank and Fraser Dingwall. Both are OBs and have excelled in Northampton Saints ranks at such young ages. Well, Fraser, welcome to you. Coming out of Bedford School, what were your aspirations in life?
Well, I was always quite clear in the fact that I kind of wanted to go down the rugby route, and although I had university and stuff application running alongside, when I was offered my contract in February time, I think it was, that was kind of the option I was always hoping for.
So a lot of people see the world of rugby and indeed sport a risky business. So was it hard to convince yourselves to take the risk, and how did the school help you in that way?
I guess it is. I guess it is a little bit of a risk, in the sense that it could end at any point, and there are a lot of good players that can't kick on or aren't given opportunity to kick on. But with it only being a 1-year contract, that was definitely something that made it a little bit easy, and you can view it as such as a gap year. And I emailed various unis and asked if it was possible to defer my offers. So that was something that the school helped with. But yeah, fortunately, things went well in rugby, so I haven't had to worry too much about that.
So, George, at what point did you realise that playing professional rugby was something that you wanted to pursue as a professional career?
To be honest, I was kind of mixed between rugby and cricket. Like, they were my two favourite sports, and I preferred playing cricket when I was younger. And then rugby kind of kicked on, and once I kind of got picked for, like, I think it was under 14s at EPDG, Northampton EPDG. It kind of gave me a little inkling into what it might be like. And I worked pretty hard from there to kind of secure a professional contract. And then obviously moving to Bedford from Kimbolton helped massively as well, because obviously Kimbolton doesn't play rugby at school. And so that move kind of emphasised that I wanted to play professionally.
So George, you had great success in the Saints ranks, starting on multiple occasions for the first team. Chris Boyd seems to be putting a lot of faith in his young players. How competitive is it at such a prestigious club like Northampton Saints to keep your place in the team?
Oh, massively, yes. It's week in, week out, you've got to perform to retain your jersey. There's so many quality players at the club that you can kind of have one bad performance and someone else is going to come in and fill your shoes. Luckily enough, this year I've managed to put a few good games together, and Chris has kind of trusted me in that 15 jersey. Obviously, Mali's injury at the start of the season kind of was obviously really disappointing for him, but kind of gave me a bit of an easier path into that jersey. And then, Chris spoke to me just before the Premiership Cup games and said, "You're going to get your opportunity now, and you need to take it here." And luckily enough, I went okay in those games and have kept pushing on since then.
So back to you, Fraser. Inside of school, you managed to also achieve some very special things as part of the first 15. What was your most fond moment out there on the Bedford School pitches?
Yeah, so I had a good few seasons, actually, 4 seasons in schoolboy rugby. Yeah, I joined in year 10 or remove, and my first year in the first team was definitely up there, going unbeaten, and probably my favourite game would be the Sedbergh, the semi-final of the Champions Cup away at Sedbergh, where the game was kind of to and from. They went up there or a couple of tries, and then we fought back somehow and managed to grind out a win there against a very strong Sedbergh side. And then the second year, unfortunately, we didn't go back to back in the Champions Cup. We should have, and I think we all know that. Again, a semi-final. That was an enjoyable one against Epsom, where we, against a wind, came back from 5-0 down, I think, to win 10-5. I think it was.
Bit of a game.
Yeah. So that's also up there. And Russell Park, both years, again, didn't actually win either of them. I know boys did, and they'll probably pipe up about that. But especially the second year, Russell Park, I think we played some of the best sevens Barry Burgess actually said he'd ever seen. So I enjoyed a lot of my schoolboy rugby.
What would you say to young listeners who want to become a rugby player when they are older?
I would say initially keep playing a lot of sports, because I think that is has massive benefits in terms of hand-eye coordination, to say the least, and also just understanding of a game. I'd also say try and play a lot of positions in rugby, but if you can play several positions in the back line, I think that can help with your understanding of the game a lot. And then finally, probably just watch a lot of rugby and kind of see what's going on at the top level.
Work hard on your basic skills as well, like your catching, passing, kicking, if you're a back, and then and a forward, to be honest, because that's what coaches look for. Obviously, you can be a physical specimen, but if you can't ultimately catch, pass, and run, you're gonna be struggling. So that's kind of, because I knew I was never going to be a physical specimen. I worked pretty hard at that. And I think that's ultimately what the coaches saw in me, and it's still like a key facet to my game now.
Well, thank you very much for both of you for joining and taking part in this interview. I hope you have the best in the next couple of seasons ahead with Northampton Saints. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Some interesting stuff, especially for boys wanting to go into rugby as a profession later on in life. Now, let's talk about music, and there's been so much going on this half-term music-wise. We've brought in Daniel Hutchins to give us a roundup of all things music this term. Enjoy.
It has been yet another busy but successful term in the music department, consisting of many fantastic concerts and competitions. Rock Night has been a great highlight of the term for everyone. But not only this though, there have been loads of prize competitions along with chapel services, lunchtime concerts, masterclasses, recitals, you name it. In the spring term at Bedford School, the music department hosts the annual music prize competitions. In these competitions, the boys quite simply perform a piece where they are judged based on their performance, and then the adjudicator announces the results. This year there were 6 competitions, and they were for piano, organ, strings, voice, brass and woodwind, each of them having a junior and senior competition. This year, the annual music prizes were a great success and really put the players to the test. If you ever get the time next year to watch one, definitely go. The standards are really high and the competition is very intense. For the boys who achieved first place in their category, they will be performing the Bedford School Prize Winners Concert on Tuesday the 30th of April. It is always a great evening and will showcase some exceptional talent. More details on this can be found on the Bedford School website. Along with the prize winners contests, the Bedfordshire Festival of Music, Speech and Drama is always a special week in the Bedford School calendar. More of this is covered in Charlie's news report. This year we have been very lucky to have had masterclasses for brass, piano and for the jazz orchestra.
with Mike Lovett and Carol Preslin. Both of these masterclasses were very interesting and really inspired the boys. The jazz orchestra played Birdland, quite a well-known jazz number, with Mike Lovett playing the funky trumpet solo. You can watch a video of that performance on the Bedford School Music social medias. It was a really good performance. The concerts this term were fantastic. We've had some great lunchtime concerts as normal, which we hold from every Thursday from 1 to 2 p.m. However, in addition to this, we've had some great concerts such as the Spring Chamber Concert, the Brass Ensemble Concert and the Choral Society Concert. I'd like to round off this section by saying thank you to everyone who has participated or organised these events. It has been a great pleasure personally performing and watching all of these concerts. I cannot wait to see what the summer term brings for us.
Thank you, Daniel. Now, before we get into the news from inside the school walls, we have a segment that brings us the stories that may not have made the front pages, but are funny nonetheless. It's time for Stupid News.
Testing. Is it working? Hello? Hello? Testing.
Rob, it's on. Hello, welcome back. It's Rob and I, and boy have we got some stupid news. And let's get straight into it. Rob, what's been happening?
Well, there's been, Brexit.
This again. Right, what's been happening in Brexit then?
Well, there was a vote on Theresa May's deal, and that was, well...
Miserable?
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Anyway, I heard they might accept our request for a delay on the Brexit deal. What's happening with that, Rob?
Well, Theresa and her friends said that they might be able to persuade the EU to delay it for 3 months. However, they might only be able to delay until the 7th of May.
Anyway, on to something a tad weirder. Lincoln man arrested after trying to rob a Papa John's with drumsticks. No word of lie, that is a real headline.
What? As in chicken drumsticks? Or instrumental drumsticks? Because if it's chicken, then they should have gone to KFC. But
In instrumental drumsticks, Rob.
And Papa John's, as in the pizza place?
Yep, he smashed through the restaurant window with a cinder block and held up a sign that said, "Give me anything in the register." The staff refused to give him any money, so he fled and broke a glass panel in the process. Police arrested him soon afterwards, and he was charged with attempted robbery and criminal mischief. The staff released a statement afterwards, and I quote, "The party did not get any money or anything of value. He was not armed, however, he did appear to hold a pair of drumsticks next to the sign."
I don't think you can get a stranger headline.
Well, it turns out you can. An article released by the Daily Mail reads, "Michigan man 50 shoots himself in the foot when he throws his shoe at a cockroach, forgetting his revolver was inside the footwear."
The man, who is wheelchair bound, is said to be in a stable condition.
Really? Stable condition? After pulling a stunt like that, I think stable condition is long gone. A final story that was found this week. A man threatened to sue a magazine for using his photo in a story about all hipsters looking the same, only to learn it's not him in the picture. I think the point has been proven.
Anyway, thanks for listening to Stupid News, and we hope you guys have a great Easter.
Hello, this is Head of School Will Barnes, and you're listening to the Ousel podcast.
Thank you, Adam and Rob. Now let's have a look at the news from around the school with Charlie.
Thank you, Will. I'll start with the Bedford Festival, which took place at the start of this half term. This brought the school many successes, including 3 entries into the highly respected Gala performance, where 12 of the 1,000 competitors that entered performed against each other for the top prizes. Dylan Swain, our very own Will Roberts, and Johnny Hosking all performed, the latter of which won the Senior Speech and Drama Award. So well done to Johnny. We also had the 40th anniversary of when the main school building burnt down. This landmark in Bedford school history was commemorated by ex-firemen, teachers and schoolboys at the time, alongside civilians who witnessed the flames. This was celebrated in the chapel earlier this month. We had success in the Team Maths Challenge. Our prep and upper mathematicians joined forces on Monday the 18th of March to compete in the regional finals of the Team Maths Challenge. Their superb performance earned them 4th place out of 32. The best performance for the school in recent years.
Thank you, Charlie. The show is drawing to a close, but there's still one more thing that we need to do, and that is top 3.
Ooh, top 3.
If you don't know what top 3 are, then it's a game that we play. It's really simple. You get given a subject, then you have to name your top 3 things that are based on that subject. Right, so our category today is top 3 nicknames. Max, I would like to start with you. Max, what are your top 3 nicknames?
William, my top 3 are, well, I think the first team hockey is always undisputed, and my brother's nickname is Wizzy, because that was his Instagram or something, I don't know. And then also Benny Sheriff likes to call me Sweetie Pie from House Drama when he was Prince Charming and I was Cinderella. And also my last one is Cindy, short for Cinderella.
Right, so Charlie, what are your 3?
So I have Bomber, which is my brother's nickname. That originally came from my dad. I don't know how it got to him, but yeah. Next one is Heineken. That's come from James Hine. So we once were doing a physics presentation, and we were thinking of nicknames for some reason, and we came up with Heineken. Yeah. And then AMAX for Max Pearson.
William, would you like to share?
Yes, I would like to share. I've got 3 very different ones. My first one is Omar Josh, which is of 2 boys who were in my Latin class and used to sit next to each other, Omar and Josh. So every time that something went wrong, you would say Omar Josh. It's a play on words with oh my gosh and Omar Josh. And my second one, I have found this story. It took a lot of digging, but I found this story. It is of a person called Stanislawa Włosiewicz. I think that's how you say it.
I don't think it is, Will.
Well, we're gonna take it as that. It is a Polish man who became a woman and competed at the Olympics in 100 metres as a woman. She competed for Poland and she became the champion. She won. She died just before she was 70. She became a United States citizen. But the nickname that I found out that she was called by most of her peers, and here it is, it's Stella the Fella was her nickname. Stanislawa Włosiewicz was called Stella the Fella. My third and final nickname is someone who's been helping out on the podcast quite a lot. His name is Josh Cook, and we have called him, unoriginally some may say, but it's been going on, everybody calls him Cookie. His name is Cookie. That is it from us. Normally I finish this episode with a joke, but I would like to take this time to make a bit of a public service announcement about something that's quite important to me. So a recent study has revealed that 85% of people wouldn't open their homes to a sentient water basin who is in desperate need of shelter. Just let that sink in. Have a nice Easter.